Okay, so we left off with who's talking out of you. Is it you talking or is it God talking? All right, so we said the goal is to get to the Christ inside of us, the God inside of us. We want that God to speak because that God knows best and that God has authority and that God has power. Bartimaeus was poor. Blind Bartimaeus was poor because he was blind. He was not blind because he was poor. Blind Bartimaeus, he was poor because he was blind. Now, what am I saying? I'm saying that his condition, his poverty, because this was the issue. The issue was because of his condition, it caused him to beg. It caused him to shake the cup, as I mentioned last week. But here's the deal. Had he not been blind, had he not been able to see, had he not been visionless, he would have never been poor. And I want you to get that, and I want that to sink in. Because see, we still, I'm trying to recondition your mind, your thought, your attitude, your character to think on a higher plane, on a higher level. If he was not blind, he would have never been poor. And if he was not poor, he would have never been begging. Okay? Get this out. Remove this physical sight. We're going deeper. So blind Bartimaeus was poor because he was blind. He lacked something. He lacked vision. He lacked knowledge. He lacked direction. He lacked understanding. He lacked wisdom. Because ultimately, that's what blindness does to you, right? Stay with me. That's what blindness does to you. I can't see. I don't understand. I don't know how often it is that I navigate to different places, in and out of situations, and I'm trying to get something to people, and they just can't see it. They can't see it. They don't understand it. If I'm talking about one of my big pet peeves and one of my stronger suits, and even in my what I'm doing my doctoral dissertation on, is I don't understand. I don't know how often it is that I navigate to different places, in and out of situations, and I'm trying to get something to people, and they just can't see it. They can't see it. They don't understand it. If I'm talking about one of money and how money works on bigger levels, and so I don't see money as something that you use to just spend to go out and get what you want. I see money on a much larger platform, if you will. And so what I try to do is get people to understand it. But if you take somebody like these boxers, these athletes, and they're getting these big contracts, and when they get these big contracts, they get the money. The money represents the healing, because you work so hard, blah blah blah, and you get that money. So you're healed, and from one standpoint. But Jesus wants us to be more than that. He wants us to be whole. Go back and listen to my message. But the money that they get is no good if they can't maintain it. That is the wholeness of it. And that is a whole new conditioning of the mind. So these people have to grow up in a culture, whether they get the culture from mother, father, from school, different environments, or they get the culture as once they become an adult, and maybe through a message like what I'm doing, or a book that I'm writing, or something like that. Whatever it is, you have to have that in order to be whole, because therein lies your vision, your direction, your understanding, and all that. But a person that don't have that, they're blind. And this is where you get resistance from, because they just have these attitudes of give me, give me, give me. I'm gonna cry. That like a baby. That's what a baby does. Just I want a handout. No, that's the whole symbolism of the cup that blind Bartimaeus had. It was a handout. And that was the point that I was trying to make to you last week, is that we have different systems and structures that are set up to keep us with our hand out. And as long as our hand is out, you never get better. And you have to get better. So when Jesus came to blind Bartimaeus, he dealt with his cup. He dealt with his coat. And those were things that the coat had to come off so he could drop the cup. And the only way that could happen is that he had to have a wholeness. He had to have a different understanding. So you have to connect the dots and complete this process. It's not just physical sight that you get healed. That's one thing, but it's also a spiritual sight and visionary sight where you become whole. Now, blindness is a result of disease or damage to the eye in the natural. What am I saying? Blindness is a result of disease or damage. Now, when we look at that in the natural, some people are born blind, and that could come from sin, or that could come from, a number of places, and we don't understand why, and those people cannot help where they are. However, Jesus can heal that. So I also mentioned in last week that God spoke to me, and he said that he was getting ready to breathe on this land and send healing out. Healing comes from God because of love and because of grace. Healing does not necessarily mean that you're going to be made whole. That is a spiritual maturity place that you have to get to in order for you to be successful in a more full way in Christianity. So yeah, I can heal you all day and give you sight. But if I give you sight to go out and see how to do a bad deal, if I give you sight so you can see that there's a gun on the table and I need to take this person out, was sight good? No. You use the gift of God, the blessing of God, in a negative way. So we have to discount, but you understand what I'm saying, the physical part of it for the spiritual part of it, or for the visionary side of it. Two places here. So the disease could come from what somebody tells you. We're dealing with this election year and all this stuff right now. And, the Democrats are saying one thing, the Republicans, they're saying another thing. And depending on how factual it is and how truthful it is, if you embrace it, it could become blindness. That could be a disease. When you look back at oppression of African American people and slavery and all that, and what it did to them mentally, it conditioned them to think that they cannot do any better, that they can't reach any further, they can't go any higher. That becomes a disease, and you lose your sight. Because now, as it relates to what has happened to me physically, emotionally, I feel trapped, like I can't do any better. And as a result of that, I am blind. I'm blinded by this. They talk about an elephant, as big and as strong as an elephant is. You can train an elephant and put a string or a real light chain around its leg. And after being conditioned to stay in an area for so long, you can just put that around him and then remove the barriers and say, listen, you're free to roam. And the elephant has been proven scientifically that the elephant won't go any further than the conditioning that's been put on it. And that has happened to us. And why is that? Because the elephant is blind to the fact, his new reality, he's blind to that he can't go outside of that circle. And so a lot of us were blinded by that I can't go outside of the circle of what this man said to me, or what this woman said to me, or what my limited intellect continues to say to me, because somebody told me I was dumb, I was stupid, or because of a health condition that I have, and I'm very limited. All that. So it's limitations. You have to go outside of that. So it is a result of disease damage to the eye, and that's naturally and spiritually. Another part of a spiritual blindness is the result of a lack of knowledge, direction, and vision. According to Proverbs 29:18. Look it up. If there is no vision, the people will perish. Where there is no vision, the people will perish. Okay, so when you don't have vision, you don't have sight. So you're blind, and when you're blind, you don't have direction. And if you don't have direction, you can be tossed to and fro. You can be led by every wind of doctrine, by every whatever somebody's making up that sounds good, to whatever makes you feel good, because you are blind. You can't see that what I'm indulging in, it is going to hurt me spiritually, emotionally, intellectually. Going down the road, it's going to tear me apart instead of build me up. So you become blind. All right, we'll be right back.